and gentlemen, welcome to the February 10th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is unanticipated. Does anybody have anything under unanticipated? Any of my board members? The audience? Okay. Announcements and recognitions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have an announcement again. Anyone interested, we have our intern, we have our funding, we're setting up the town website, free advertising. Businesses and organizations out there, please get your information to the Office of Economic and Community Development. That's oecdweb@middleborough.com, or you can send it directly to me. I'll make sure they get it. selectmandalpy@middleborough.com. Also, the festivals brochure for the entire year is looking for organizations that have events or festivals going on, and if they have your dates, please, we will include you in the calendar for free. And there are also some advertising opportunities there, and you can get that information at herringrunfestival@gmail.com. And you can also get participation information in the Herring Festival there for businesses and organizations around the town. That's all.
And this is through the Tourism Committee?
For the Herring Festival participation, herringrunfestival@gmail.com. And for the town website, for advertising and listings, it's the Office of Economic and Community Development in the town, or you can send it directly to me, Selectman Dalpy, and I will make sure that I get it to them.
Thank you. Any other board members? Have any announcements or recognitions? Ken Madigan present? Yeah. Mr. Madigan, would you step forward? I believe you have an announcement you wish to make.
I do. Thank you very much. May I approach the board? I have a little handout.
No money, just handout. Thank you.
You don't mind if I wear my glasses?
Doesn't bother me.
Good evening. My name is Kenny Madigan. I am the co-chairman of the 150 committee at Mayflower Lodge, across the street from the town hall. I am with John Evers, who is also on the committee. And I guess the reason we wanted to address the selectmen tonight was twofold. The first part was to make you all aware that we all are having a special event in May on the town hall parking lot on May 17th, from around 7 to 4. I will let John talk about that in a minute. The second reason for coming was to briefly go through a few events for the next 5 or 6 months to let you know, and the cable viewers know, what is going on in Middleborough at the Masonic Lodge. This is just another way to reach out to brothers that are watching the show tonight. So in your packet, you will find a listing of the events. You'll also find a copy of the newsletter that we use and a flyer that John will talk about in a minute. The big events that are coming up at the Masonic Lodge in March is quite a heavy load, that being the 150th anniversary. Mayflower Lodge will be having a karaoke night, a blood drive, and a chip program maintained by Masons and wives and friends to accommodate those 3 events there. In April, we just have a table lodge. If you're a Mason, you know what that is all about. It's a 7-course meal. And then that brings us to May with the car show, 150th car show, in hopes that we get a huge amount of cars to show to the people in Middleborough and surrounding towns. And we'll end it with a dinner and a dance celebration at the Ted Williams Camp in Lakeville on June 7th. Will be the end of the year event. That being said, I'd like to heed a couple of minutes to John, that he can talk about what's going on, what we'd like to have done at the town hall. John Evers?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate having us have the opportunity to come here and voice our little program that we have, as minuscule as it might be considering the intensity of your programs that you have here at the Board of Selectmen. I never had an opportunity to be a selectman. It must be a wonderful thing. Planning Board,
Still time
Sharon?
to take out papers.
Hey,
No,
come on up.
no, that's the end of it for me, right? Okay, if you'll turn to your last page. I've had an opportunity to be the president of several very large automobile clubs in this area. Over in Dedham was one, and we've got about 1,000 show cars that come in July. And Ken and I had chatted. Ken has an antique car, which I believe you know about, and I have several antique cars, and we thought this might be an opportunity. Now, no whispering, please, back on the board here.
He called me an antique.
Well,
It's
you
okay.
said antique cars and pointed at her, and I thought,
I got to be careful what I say. So we thought this would be a good idea. It's going to be a fundraiser. Not only that, but it will kind of put Middleborough on the map, because if you have an event like this, it's a good draw for all the towns around. So we should have a good time. This just points out. I had this flyer made up, similar to the ones that I've had for the other clubs that I'm involved with. And it just gives you an idea what it's all about. There's going to be food. There's going to be a raffle, trivia trophies, and as I say, spectators, free admission, show cars, a certain amount of fee, and that's about it. There's nothing unusual. But here again, it was our thought, Ken's, to come before you. It was very pleasant of you to allow us to do this. And so if there's a question, any other questions or any questions you might have about this, just go ahead and throw them at me.
would you, if you have it already, check in with the town manager's office and make sure that you get your name on the calendar, so...
Yes, we have. I've done that personally. We have the parking area that surrounds the building now. And we've notified the police department, the fire department, and pretty much touched base with all the people that really don't matter. Now we want to go before you.
They're wicked important. We're
That's
just-
right.
Yeah. Board members have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I know Brother Montepert has already presented this for the festival's brochure calendar, and it'll be going in. Also, we can put it on the town's website calendar. That will be up and running by then. And any other events on here that you wish, you can get them right to me through him. Okay?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Just to finish, you're right, we've gone through the proper channels.
Okay.
At the office, the fire, the police, they have a copy of our insurance company form, and I think that's it. For contacting any of these events that are coming up, you can contact myself at 947-8940, or use my email, kmadigan@comcast.net. And like I said, I thank you very much for your time. I think it's very important. It's another way to get the word out and get more interest in having this event put on here in the town of Middleborough.
Okay,
I
thank
want
you
to thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Any other announcements on recognition? Hearing none, we'll would entertain a motion relative to the January 27th regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to accept.
There we go.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I believe I will abstain from that. I don't believe I was here that
Is it the 27th or the 3rd?
Could be both, actually. I think I was down both nights, actually.
Yep.
All right, so
Pass on the
I'll
27th.
abstain from that, and also entertain a motion relative to the February 3 regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Relative to the warrant, vote to authorize the chairman or his designee to sign the warrants for the week ending 2/7 and 2/14.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. New business. First item on the agenda is a vote to change the annual town meeting to May 27th with a flow-over date of May 28th. And this is at the behest of the town moderator. This fits in with the overall scheme?
Yeah, yes, it does, Mr. Chairman. It turned out that because of the graduation activities, the high school wasn't available both the dates that we needed it, just in case we had a two-night meeting. So the moderator wanted to be prudent, and even though this is going to be on a Tuesday and a Wednesday that week, because the Monday is the holiday, he felt it was more important to be sure that if we had to have two nights, we had them in the same location. He didn't want people to get, confused in the event that on the second night they went to the wrong place. So this satisfies that requirement.
Can we get some more extra added advertising about this? This is going to be a little
Yeah,
different.
I think we're gonna have to do a lot of
Tuesday
advertising.
night
This is
meeting?
very different, very
This would
different.
be scary.
Yeah.
We'll
So we're
make
gonna
sure
have
we
to
get-
pull out all the stops and make sure we reach out to people.
Okay. Any questions of the board?
This is where we're going to be talking about the new police station?
In part, yes. But
Yeah.
also talking about the rest of the businesses of the town.
Yeah, budget, everything. This
Budgets.
is gonna be the annual.
This is our big meeting for the year. But yes, the police station will be a piece of that also.
I'm a big fan of advertising that as much as possible anyway.
Well, let's hope we get more than 150 people. This is important for the town. This is where the town gets to, this is where you get your real say. This is where the rubber hits the road for you people. You can make your comments right there. All right, pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Ayes have it. We have a motion, entertain a motion to reappoint the town constables as presented. I have a question on this. Are we getting the necessary fees in on a timely fashion from all of the constables as we're supposed to according to law?
I certainly hope so.
No, that gives me a warm, wonderful feeling now, doesn't it?
Jackie could have answered that question, and I just can't,
Can
so.
we verify that, please?
We will. We
I
certainly.
want to make sure that we're getting there are fees involved for this.
Correct.
And I want to make sure that we're getting what we're supposed to be getting from the constables.
Okay.
So, given the fact that you will get back with us
We will,
on our next meeting,
at your next meeting.
okay,
Mr. Chair,
pleasure of the board, yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you can answer this, Charlie, but one of the bonds expires in May. Is that any type of issue for us?
I don't think so. I mean, they just renew.
All right.
Any other comments or questions? Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to pass over the...
Yeah, Jane Cutsy's sick today as well,
With that
so.
meeting? Okay. We have a betterment approval for 72 Vernon Street. I drove by there. There is a house on the property, so that makes me feel a lot better.
Thank you.
It's not burned down. Same, looks in good shape. This will be for 72 Vernon Street, the amount of $25,863.75. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. One question on these betterments. We have discussed several times about taking a larger bond so that we don't have repeated bond costs involved in taking these?
Correct, and that's what we're going to be implementing going forward. We're going to borrow more money less frequently, so we don't have as much issuance costs involved. And Health Department, the treasurer, everybody's on board with doing that. So we still have, quite a substantial sum of money for now. So I don't think we're doing anything this spring, maybe in the fall.
Okay, well, let's cut our costs as much as we can.
Yeah.
This particular type of bonding doesn't impact our bond rating in the town, does it?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you, not on this, but on the agenda. Did we skip over the circuit agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, Jane
Cutsy's-
Cutsy
Jane's
is ill
on
today.
top of that?
Yeah.
We'll get to that the week after, probably.
Yeah, correct.
So, pleasure of the board on this Benjamin agreement?
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. At the request of the police chief, we're also passing over item E. Apparently that situation has resolved itself, so we have... Yes, chief, good evening.
It has. I had a call Friday morning that another department had somebody drop out, so we were able to get everybody in that we wanted.
Okay. So we have 4.
Starting
Four.
March 30th.
You all set for the training that's going to have to happen once they get back in town?
We are.
That'll be different. Be good, but it'll be
We've
different.
done 5 at one time before.
Have you? Okay.
We can do it.
Very good. Okay. Item F, vote to declare the Police Department 2008 Crown Vic as surplus. Any comments from the board? Questions? Pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second. We make sure we get this off the insurance rolls so that we don't continue to pay
Absolutely.
auto insurance on it? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware, sometimes like this guy here was wrecked 2 years ago, it comes off the insurance right away, because we'll replace it, but we keep it, the parts.
Yeah, and I'd just like to have another set of eyes making sure that we're not, things tend to slip through the cracks sometimes, not in your department, of course, because you're very efficient and you have a weapon, so. But other departments are more lax, shall we say. Item G is a vote to appoint auxiliary police officers for 2014 as presented.
Motion to approve?
Second.
With a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Item H is a vote to appoint the special police officers for 2014 as presented.
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item I is a vote to appoint the agents for the liquor establishments as presented.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. This week, we have a bill from Wright Pierce for invoices for pilot testing of $19,432.02. For schematic, for schematic design of $28,633.22. Now, these are the two bills that we,
Couldn't find
We
last
paid,
week,
but
we
we
found
didn't-
them
This?
for this week.
so these have been paid, or they?
No,
haven't
these
been
had not been paid, and for some reason, they fell through the cracks.
So now we are
we've
accurate
resurrected them.
with the billing and the payments?
Yeah, we're
Everything-
almost there. We're catching up.
Good,
Yeah.
that's good. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have to take a vote to publish the hearing notice for the
Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, CWMP,
that's right.
February
Public hearing is
24th.
going to be on February, what,
24th.
24th?
Yeah, at 7:30 here.
Do I have to read this?
No, I think if you just, it's already on the website. We've already put it on the website, and this is to publish it.
This will
and-
go into the
newspaper,
newspaper, and
correct.
then it fits in with the time frames for
Yeah.
notifications and all?
Yeah.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second. Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have a vote for 4 statements of interest for the Mass School Building Authority. I bet we have somebody here to talk about that, too.
Yes, I am here.
Here we go.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
Kathy Piatelli, business manager for the school department. Dr. Weiss sends her apologies. She had to fill in at the high school tonight. They had the National Honor Society induction, and Mr. Brannigan was sick, so she's there. She sends her apologies. I'm here to ask the board's approval, vote of approval, to allow Dr. Weiss to submit 4 statements of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Authority. School department approved, the school committee approved them last Thursday, and that's the road you have to take. School committee approval, Board of Selectmen approval before we can submit the applications. 3 of the applications are for accelerated repair, boilers, windows, or roofs. So we're gonna go for 2 boilers and a roof, and the 4th one is for a big project that needs more, and that will be for the high school. We'll submit that again. We did it last year, and we weren't chosen, so we're gonna keep trying. I understand that you don't have to read all of the words. The reading can be waived, but all of the words have to be in the text of the minutes.
Okay, so you'll make sure that Jackie
Jackie
gets a
gets it.
copy
I
of the text
certainly
of the
will.
minutes, the text, so she can include it in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Anything, board members, questions, comments?
I have a couple. One, I think that was awful nice that you just said that, so Steve wouldn't have to read the whole thing.
Yeah. I think
gonna
he
have
did
to
read it
delegate.
I think last year he did read it. Now, I've learned.
Oh,
All right, so it's a boiler, it's 2 boilers and a roof. The boiler replacement at Mary Kay Good, boiler replacement at the Nichols Middle, and roof replacement at the Early Childhood Center.
Correct.
And then the high school, you're not putting in a bid to build a new school or to renovate this school. You're asking for a statement of interest from the state, and that's the first step in a process to assess what needs to be done at the high school.
Correct. We're going to ask them to come and look at it, and,
I just don't want to get accosted for building a new high school tomorrow.
no, not tomorrow.
And we did something like this for the windows just a few years ago, and that actually worked out pretty well for us.
We did, yes. We submitted a $500,000 grant, and we were approved, and we received 54.79% back.
Beautiful.
And we're waiting for our final payment and close that out.
And that's all new windows in which school?
Windows at Mary Kay Good School,
And have you already seen an energy savings from that project?
once we fix the boiler.
a
These
process.
3 projects are also on the capital plan. We submitted to the capital planning committee, so hopefully everything will go at the same time.
All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may, through you?
Yes, you may.
So the evaluation we got for the high school last fall, we were put on a watch list. What, could you
That's
just?
with the NIASC
Right.
committee? Yes. Can't speak too much about it.
Right.
They did come in, they review your academics, your teaching, and also the physical building.
I'm talking about the physical
The
building,
physical
yeah.
building needs some work. It inhibits some teaching and learning that we would really like to happen.
Right. Now, this, you're applying for, this is a study, as Selectman Frawley said, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we'll submit that report with the application when it goes.
And that will determine the best course of action to remediate the deficiencies that were found?
If we're chosen, if
we're
we're
chosen.
needy enough, they'll come out,
Okay.
look at the building and suggest ways to either add on, renovate, or replace.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Quo?
The Early Childhood Center, you want to redo the roof?
Correct. Apparently, they kept the roof. It was just redone in 2007,
Right.
and they kept the slate roof to stay with the character of the building. Pieces have been dislodged, so we had a roofer go up to look at it, and not really informed on roofs, but what I've been told is the pieces of slate are triangles, and they sit in 2 nails, so to speak, and when they redid the roof, they got some reclaimed or reconditioned slates, and they're getting fractured and just getting dislodged and falling off in the wind.
So are they going to replace them with something similar, or are they just going to put a more modernized type roof on it?
We'll probably get a couple of different prices, maybe a faux slate or
Mhm.
traditional roof shingles.
Falling slate, yeah, it's,
Yeah, that could be hazardous.
Could wreck your day.
okay, thank you.
When I was reading through this weekend, the when they call it priority 2, 3, 5, and 7, is this just this isn't level of importance for priority, it's just where it
Actually, it
falls
is.
on the list?
Priority 1 is totally unsafe building, so I guess in the Mass School Building Authority, that is the level of
Okay, all right,
importance, priority.
okay. Any other comments or questions of the board?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, about the slate, it seems to me that, I mean, slate lasts hundreds of years. It might be the installation that was the problem. Are you going to coordinate with the facility manager to look at that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And we've also had a roofer go up to look at it too. Did a few repairs, what he could, resecure them.
Okay.
Oh, yes, everyone will be involved
All
in
right.
this. I'm going to pass it right on, actually, after tonight.
Any other questions, comments? Pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Yeah. Motion to approve my signing this, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we'll sign that up, and then you make sure Jackie gets the necessary documentation she needs for the,
I will.
for the
Shall I
minutes?
leave them with you, and you can just leave them with Jackie?
Sure, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is all of them? This is all we need?
Sure, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, 7:30. Look at that. One of our goals for the Board of Selectmen was to have some of our various committees in, just to give a little very brief update as to what they've been doing, and so the board members all are aware of what's going on, and so the folks back home that are watching us tonight can have a better flavor for what these committees do. First committee on the list tonight is the Citizens Environmental Health Impact Committee.
Hi, Susan Bullier, 3101 Oak Point Drive. I guess I'm the secretary of the Citizens Environmental Health Impact Committee. You wanted to know what we've been working on? We've been working on the Field of Dreams. We tried to get soil testing done, but we're unable to obtain a grant for the equipment necessary. It cost, I think it was $23,000. Our concern is that the soil under the Field of Dreams was heavily contaminated. We interviewed people who were involved in the construction, and they felt the contaminants had not been removed. There was talk about a barrier having been put down, but that would have been pierced when the lights were put in. We've been unable to locate records pertaining to the cleanup of the area prior to the construction of the field. This brings up the question of whether or not the children playing sports are being contaminated while they play. We'd like to have a grant, but our committee has no funds at all, so we just do what we can. We brought up the issue of the trash train with its soil and air contamination, especially after the 2 fires that were put out by the fire department, obviously. They were on site for one of the fires for 40 minutes at 580 gallons of water a minute for 40 minutes. There were 2 fires of that magnitude that we have records of, thanks to Mr. Knowlton. And we're wondering whether there's a fee to the trained people for the use of our facilities at this rate, because that's a lot of water. It's tying up the men from the fire department and so forth. To say nothing of the fact that these trains are located right near the G&E, which I have pictures here if anybody wants to see them. We have pictures that were done in September of 2013, and we have pictures that were done today. And there's been no improvement at all. Do you want to see them?
Sure.
Okay. This one is construction trash. This one supposedly is construction trash. It's more like a body. Well. And that was in,
Little body.
that was in September. These were today, and as you can see, there's no improvement. It's all the same construction trash.
And your concern, of course, is the, pass those down to the train, when you say it's next to the G&E, that's actually the gas plant for the G&E, which is more problematic than a power transmission line.
Right. And we are a little concerned about fires next to the G&E.
There's a bridge there, too.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that Mr. Montepar is working
Right.
with the rail company, is moving the train further down so that it's neither exposing the gas plant to a fire or the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The other thing is that there are tanker cars sitting there frequently,
yes.
which is another large concern. Plus, we don't know how much contamination there is from all the water that drained out the bottom of the train when they were putting out the fires. And I'm sure that although Mr. Knowlton was able to get the report of 2 fires, I'm not sure that that's all there have been. I don't have anything to prove that. But as you said, Mr. Montepar has taken over a lot of the care, the investigation, thank you, Alan. But we'd just like to see them moved so they're not, actually we'd like to see them in another town.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I was at the meeting in Boston with the DOT and the gas and electric and the owner of the tracks, CSX, exactly. The good news is the train is being parked under a bridge that belongs to the DOT, so they are going to fix that no matter what. They don't want their bridge going up in flames. So we're all on the same page there. That's very good news. The other thing is, I believe within a couple weeks, all of the parties, including the health department, are supposed to be getting together and going down and assessing the site and finding some place to park this train. As for its vicinity to the gas and electric, it is next to the building. The gas tank itself is, I believe it was 400 feet or 250, something like that. 250 feet, the fire chief actually measured it from this train. That's not the main issue, but that it's beside a building that's inhabited, that's a problem. The other conclusion they came to was the trash, they lease those cars out. So the train company itself is not privy to what's in them. So they are going to be contacting the two companies that they contract out to, Champion and Trojan, I think the name of them are, to ascertain what's in there. As far as the tanker cars are concerned, they're sealed completely. And I don't believe there are flammable fluids in there. Again, we don't know, but that was not the biggest concern. Were the open trash cars that are catching on fire. And my concern was, if our fire department is there, we're a big town, and what happens when something happens across the town? So, but like I said, we're all on board. I really think within the next few weeks we'll have a solution to this, but do stay on top of it. I appreciate your bringing it to everyone's attention.
Well, we don't want the facilities strained for the fire department or the water department either, because if they're pouring that much water, where are they getting it all from?
Exactly, and like you said, the runoff. So the health department, Gene Spalding will be there as well to monitor this, because it's a health concern.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was I don't know, it's going to be close, because they have had that contract to stop the train there for decades and decades and decades, and there's not a lot of room. But they are willing to figure out where they can stop the train at a different area. So.
Although, maybe another town. One of the other things we've been working on is the blue-green algae. We've been monitoring, along with the DPH, the occurrence of the blue-green algae, which can be very harmful and potentially deadly to children and animals. One of our committee members will be making a PSA regarding the proper cleaning of boats and other watercraft when taking them out of the water in order to prevent the spread of the algae. There were 13 recreational sites and areas closed last summer due to the infestation of the algae. I have a list of what they were. They were Lake Attitash in Amesbury and Merrimack, Upper Mystic Lake in Arlington, Medford and Winchester, Charles River in Boston, Cliff Pond in Brewster, Elbow Pond in Brewster, East Monpont Pond in Halifax, West Monpont Pond in Halifax and Hanson, Lake Syog in Holland, Santuit Pond in Mashpee, Eli Pond in Melrose, White Island Pond in Plymouth and Wareham, and Lake Quannapowitt in Wakefield. Those were all closed last summer due to the algae. Two of the people on the board were supposed to be making a PSA, but we're going to let them off the hook, and Kitty, one of our other members, is going to do it, just so you know. One of the other things we're concerned about is the Star Pond Gerson property off north of 1 Sumner Ave, DEP number 4-0000427. It's a Mass DEP Tier 1D site, which is a default site. There's been no action on this property since 2000. We've sent a letter to Millie Garcia Serrano at DEP regarding this site. We've also assisted with the ALS cancer study that was presented to the town on 10/13/13, thanks to the help from Mr. Quell on setting up the presentation. We don't agree with the methodology of the data collection because they left out quite a large population. Though anybody who was treated at a veterans facility was not included in the study. And as you know, we have quite a few veterans. And They weren't included in the study even if they had a problem. Lastly, we've been following the progress at the cleanup of Rockland Industries at 255 Plymouth Street. A small area of the site was removed in 2011. The follow-up testing on this site has not been done to the specification outlined by the DEP, which we have supported. The DEP now lists the site in non-compliance, RTN number 400000111. Our committee has supported the Concom in their dealings on the project.
Am I mistaken in thinking that the organization of your committee came about because of that property?
Rockland Industries.
Shouldn't that not be the focused? I mean,
Well, it is. It's
when
just-
several of us sat in the meeting with the chairman of DEP that came in and told us how they were going to do all kinds of testing, and when they did that soil removal,
Mhm.
and they were I asked specifically, are you going to test with devices that would be able to detect any chemicals in the soil? And she was very clear they were going to do that.
They didn't.
And the device they used was their nose.
Mhm.
I don't smell anything, do you? And they said it's okay now.
Right.
It just seemed odd to me, but
It seemed odd to all of us, and we have been trying to get a further communication from the DEP, but we haven't been able to. Neither has Ms. Cassidy from the Concom. We've been working with them because they want to deal with the Concom and us, but mostly with her. So we've been working with her. One of the members of our committee is a representative from the Concom. And we're trying to get better answers from them, but they're not forthcoming.
they being DEP?
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Knowlton, I believe this was one of your
It was.
your goals, so
Yes.
are there any questions you have?
No, I just want to say that I was there at the presentation of the ALS study, and I was pleased that, it gave us no indication of actual clusters, cancer clusters. I understand your concerns that, the way the data was collected, but, barring a lot of money, I don't think we're going to get a different study
No,
that brings anything else in.
They are trying to expand the study and do some different data collection. And if that happens, we might have different results, but at this point, that's what we have.
And I believe there's going to be a second general cancer study as well in
That's what
town.
the further study is going to be,
And that should be, should give us a lot of good information.
hopefully, yes.
And also about the CSX train, I understand that we have had the health officer out there on a couple of occasions to check to just see what's happening with the trains, and have had negative reports back
Right,
a couple of
When she's
times.
been out there, there's been nothing.
Yeah. But I do appreciate how Mr. Monteport is spearheading that, and, if we can get them to move those cars down the track a little bit, I think that would be good for the town. I'm very pleased with that.
Mhm. But the other question was, is there any thing that we can do as a fine of some sort if the fire department has to put out any more fires? Isn't there a certain number of fires that the fire department responds to for the same person before they start fining? I thought there was some regulation about that.
There's a bylaw, if I recall correctly, relative to alarm responses,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know if this would fall into the same category. It would be something worth looking into, certainly. But, it's a different incident. It's a different car, it's a different time.
I know.
Pretty hard to pinpoint.
It is.
Mr. Chair, I think I've heard something similar. I think that's to false alarms,
Oh, okay,
but not to actual fires.
okay. But if there's something that's considered flammable and dangerous anyhow, which this is, we've all agreed on that, wouldn't there be some ramifications?
Well, we all agree on it. But
Well,
that
apparently
doesn't
so
really,
does
But we're not
CSX.
empowered to make that decision.
that's right.
And
Yes.
I would be very cautious
Oh, I-
about starting to fine people for putting out fires. It reminds me a lot of the private fires,
Yeah, I know,
you know,
I know.
forces.
I'm just concerned about the amount of resources being used.
Well,
And if those trash trains are collecting debris from the Trojan recycling plant in Brockton, there are no containers full of any flammable liquids in there. They'll return your paint can if you drop it off there.
That's from personal experience.
That is from personal experience. They know immediately.
Okay.
They're actually, it's a little crazy down there, but they're very, very on top of their game down there.
Okay. Any other questions?
any other questions from the board members?
You mentioned the Field of Dreams.
Mhm.
Have there been any, before people get into a panic about their kids playing on a site, have there been any indications that there is anything in the ground there, any test, any,
We haven't been able to get any testing done.
but I mean, has
And we
anyone
haven't-
reported, like, are they falling in something that shouldn't be there? Is anything
No, there was
bubbling
a
up?
barrier put down, supposedly, but once you put in the lights, you pierce the barrier, so if there's any contaminants.
But how do we, and I don't know how to say this without sounding a little bit harsh, so I apologize. But are we just going on hearsay at this point?
We're going on the fact of people who were involved in the construction.
So we don't have any
Perhaps.
positive results that we can actually act on yet?
We haven't been able to get
That's what
any
you're trying to
reports from
achieve.
anybody
All right.
on any of the people that supposedly cleaned up the contaminants, or anybody who was involved in putting down the barriers or anything. Just people who were at the construction.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
no other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for the report, good report. Next committee we'd like to hear from would be the Cultural Committee. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us to report to you tonight. There are 11 members on the Middleborough Cultural Council. We have a grant cycle that awards grant money that comes to the town from the Massachusetts Cultural Council for local allocation. In grant cycle of 2012, 2013, we had 24 applicants, made 14 grants for $6,131 in total. For this past grant cycle, which was in October 2013, for 2014, we had 21 applicants and granted 13 grants for a total of $6,531. Most of the grants, in fact, all the grants in 2014 were partial grants, so because we only have $6,500 to award, $6,531 that is, we weren't able to fully fund any of the grant applications. We were able to fund some new and exciting endeavors this year, including a new play that's going to be workshopped and produced here in Middleborough. We're going to fund entertainment for Crazy Days, which has seen a revival in recent years in Middleborough. We fund the Lakeville Arts and Music Festival because we have quite a few members of this community that partake in that festival. We fund the Joe Davis Folk Festival and Harvest Fair at the Soul Farm. We are funding a brand new festival here in Middleborough, the Herring Run Festival. We're funding entertainment for that festival. We fund the Friends of the Middleborough Libraries program of world music and classical music at the library. We fund an afternoon of entertainment at the COA, and there are some other small grants that we awarded. So I think that we do a good job of evaluating the grants and seeing what would be new, exciting, and innovative for the town of Middleborough. Are there any questions? I have a copy of our annual report to give to you.
Sure, that'd be great if you want to submit that. No problem.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Mr.
a question. How is the possibility of us getting a cultural zone designation here in town going to affect what you're able to do?
Well, the Cultural Council wrote a letter in support of a cultural zone this year. I think that it'd have really good impact on the interest that the community has in cultural events in Middleborough, if we're also aware that we have a cluster of cultural venues in the downtown area, from the museums to the theaters to the library, different historic areas, and the Heron Run, are all great things for the citizens of Middleborough to be aware of. I think even the cluster of churches in downtown Middleborough can add to the cultural experience for the citizens of Middleborough.
Are you going to be able to benefit from increased funding from the state?
What we benefit from is basically the population. If the population of Middleborough grows, we'll probably get awarded more money. Also, I don't think that we're going to get, I'm not aware that we would be awarded more money from downtown Middleborough being named a cultural center. Seems that the money goes to where, I think there is some more weighting to more disadvantaged areas, like maybe inner city kind of things.
Well, I appreciate what you do with the money you do have and how you're supporting the various different activities here in town. It's excellent.
Thank you.
That's it? Board members? No? Well, okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for all your efforts. You're doing a great job there. And we have now the Agricultural Commission. We'll hear from the Agricultural Commission. Good evening.
Hello. My name's Bill Rogers. I'm the chairman of the commission. Forgive my nervousness. I feel a little bit like a boy who's been called up in front of the principal, so I'm not used to this.
Don't worry.
We are, we're active. We're concerned with agriculture in the town. And I'll tell you this, it's surprising how much agriculture there is in this town. Maybe not the big farms, maybe they've all gone, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of small stuff in the town. We have members, Connie is our secretary. We send members out to statewide level to stay on top of what's happening in the state, regional with Duxbury and Marshfield and stuff. Locally, we have representatives trying to get to Conservation Commission meetings, Planning Commission meetings, so that we can keep on top of what other people in the town are doing. We are all committed. We have good people. Everyone on the commission is directly involved in agriculture in the town in one way or another. And we're going forward, and I think we're doing well. We've had our challenges. We've lost 2 members since I've been on the commission in a couple of years. We lost Pat Farrington, who was our chairman at the time, and that was a big loss. And she did a lot, and her shoes are hard to fill. This year we lost Louise Collin, who was also committed to agriculture, doing agriculture in the town. But we're going on. We've got good people. Everybody on the commission is determined to see agriculture thrive in Middleborough.
Good.
And I think that sums it up.
Very good. Mr. Nolan?
Are you looking for more members?
We would love to have more members, yes.
And how would they contact you?
Excuse me?
How would they contact you if someone were interested?
We have We can get messages through the city hall, through the town hall switchboard. We have a mailbox over there,
Okay.
and email box as well.
So through the website, they could
Through the website, or
contact
they
you?
could just come to and introduce themselves at one of our meetings, which of course are posted on in the town website as well.
Excellent.
Is there a specific background you'd be looking for somebody to,
No,
Join?
not specific background, the.
Just a worker bee?
Our feeling is, you know, the more, not random, but the more varied participants we have, the better, the stronger we are. So, no, but we definitely would love to have more members.
do you have any open seats now?
Yes, we do.
How many seats do you have open?
We would love to see 2 more.
2 more people? Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
through. Do you have a listing of the agricultural fairs that go around town? I know there are a lot of them. The South Middleborough Grange does one, those kinds of
Do we have
things.
a listing of
Yeah,
those?
do you keep track of those? I'm just curious.
Yes, we do. I mean, we know what's going on
Right.
as far as that. We don't have a specific listing that I'm aware of, but we do know when they come up.
And what organizations do them generally?
What organization?
Yeah, hold them, yeah,
Different ones. I
Yeah.
couldn't answer that specifically.
okay.
Would you want to communicate with
That's,
them?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We have a festivals and events brochure for the town that's
Uh-huh.
coming out very shortly, and
Yeah.
we're looking for information on those kinds of things to put in our calendar. So,
I see.
yeah. Would you have something like that?
We can work on it.
Okay, how do I contact you? Just
Through
the town website, okay.
yeah.
Jackie knows where to get.
Yes,
Okay.
our contact.
I'll make sure, yeah.
information.
It's my thing. I have to ask everyone, so don't, you weren't singled out. I think it's an important part of the town, and
We
I
do
really. Yeah. Right. Okay, so if I can help shine a light on that and show people? Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board members? Yes, Mr. Fowler.
Is there anything we can do to help you?
I think we're doing fine. We're very pleased with the level of support we get from the town. If we have a problem, I've been to see the town manager myself, and Connie goes to Jackie. We have a great level of support in the town for what we
All right,
do.
yeah, if you ever need anything, feel
Nothing
free to
specific
contact
at
us.
this time.
And when do you meet? Do you have a?
We
like,
meet the first Mondays of every month.
First Monday of every month, and
Mhm.
where?
Where?
Where and when? What time?
7 o'clock at the library.
All right, so
In
every
the
first
children's
Monday,
room.
7 PM at the library.
Yeah.
The
The
Agricultural
first
Commission.
Monday of every month. yes.
First Monday of every
Yes.
month, 7 PM at the library, the
Yes.
Agricultural Commission.
Yes.
That's in the room downstairs on your left?
It's on the right,
On the right?
down,
Yeah.
not quite into the children's room.
The other right.
Your other one.
All right, beautiful, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Listen, don't be afraid. If you've got something going on, get it to us. We'll get it out on
Okay.
the network, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your efforts. It's nearly 8 o'clock, or actually, it is 8 o'clock someplace. So, we are continuing a discussion or a hearing for an earth removal permit application filed by GAF Engineering on behalf of River Rock Realty Trust for property located at 288 Thompson Street. And so, Charlie, are you,
We have the applicant here.
we have the applicant here, all right. There's been some discussions about this property, and there's concerns about where the reservoir is going to be, and
Correct.
concerns that this looks more
Well, we
like
have
a...
some, we have some
gravel hauling
letters from the
operation?
engineer and from the planning board, and believe, waiting for a response.
Okay, so have you seen the response from the planning board and from the engineer?
I have a response from the planning board with me,
Okay.
and I was wondering if we could, Joseph Aruda, River Rock Realty. I have the planning board letter. Tonight, we wanted to clarify some issues that were brought up by that letter. I start with number 1, which we agreed with the planning board that the applicant needed to sign, landowner needed to sign. So we have a application signed by the landowners and myself that I'd like to present to you. Number 2, I'm going to refer to Marcus Baptista.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Baptiste. I am the landowner. I not only own the bog parcel, but I also own the one of the Form A lots out front, and Mr. Tim Hashem owns the other Form A lot out front. We have reconfigured them on the plans so that they no longer extend down onto the bog or the reservoir. And the planning board's letter states that you have no way to mandate this because they're still in their current state. We would be willing to accept a condition, and we would expect the board to put in a condition stating that the lots need to be reconfigured prior to the gravel removal beginning. So as a condition, we will reconfigure lots 6 and 7 so that they no longer extend down over the reservoir or the bog. Number 3 on the letter, I'll also speak to that. No 100-foot tree buffer between the earth removal project and the abutting residential property is provided. Generally, I'm assuming this regulation is in place to protect existing homeowners from a earth removal cranberry bog operation moving into a neighborhood. We are the owners of both, so we obviously are in favor of it. We're applying for it. But having said that, we understand the condition, and we are willing to provide a 100-foot tree buffer, but do so on the A&R lots, not on the bog parcel. There will be a restricted 100-foot buffer that will be on the A&R lots. If any homes are built on the A&R lots and are placed for sale, marketed for sale, there will be a notification to any prospective purchasers that there is a gravel removal operation occurring out back. They'll be provided with the plans and the permit. They will be provided with a restriction that they can't cut the 100-foot tree buffer zone until the gravel removal operation is complete. So during the operation, there will be a 100-foot tree buffer on the A&R lots 6 and 7. Number 4, I'm going to hand the microphone back to Mr. Aruda. Number 4 refers to the 3.31 acres of cranberry bog that we would have to take out of, that Bayside would have to take out of production in order to make this project feasible. Tonight, Mr. Beaton is here with us. If he's in the back here, he is aware of this project. He's in favor of this project for numerous reasons, and if you'd like, you can ask Mr. Beaton himself.
Sure.
Let me just explain the acreage.
Hi, I'm Peter Beaton from Bayside. I don't know quite how this process works, but I've talked to Joe Ruder. I understand, and Marcus Baptiste. I understand the conditions, and I accept the conditions as printed in the most recent map. I do have 3.5 acres of bog elsewhere that can be overlaid on this property after the bog has been planted and it's time to be harvested. The 3.5 acres will make the bog more efficient. Right now, we have 25 acres there. An efficient bog, efficient farm. It's very much like any business, and economies of scales take place. And I'd like to get that property up to 35 to maybe 40 acres. And that's why I'm so interested in this 3.5 acres of bog. And I also might be able to reconfigure and maybe take the pump house off of the dike, the present dike, in front of bed and breakfast, which is kind of an eyesore to them. I'm not sure I can do that, but that would be a great thing if I could. Yeah.
So you're taking 3.4 acres out of production to take this piece of property?
Eventually, I will. Eventually, I will.
I guess I'm, not being a farmer, I don't understand that. Why are you taking part of your active growing area out of production to take on an area that won't be producing, even though you'd be taking it out when they plant? It just seems like a time frame you're going to be losing money here.
No, it's because this bog that I will take the 3 acres out, 3.5 is presently in Halifax. It's a very low producer type of bog, but I continue to harvest that for the time being. But we got to understand that Fuller Street area is a very good area for growing cranberries. In fact, it's a corridor. That whole street is devoted to farms, and it's a very nice area for growing cranberries. And I'm trying to bring things closer to home, closer to have one big farm instead of several small farms scattered throughout southeastern Mass.
Okay, so you're taking a piece out from another area completely, not in your bogs off of Fuller Street. Okay.
Yeah. If there was a piece of bog on Fuller Street that was not a good bog, or is too small or whatever, I might consider doing some of that too, just to have the most efficient farm I possibly can have.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions of this gentleman from the board members? No? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to question number 3. I realized I skipped over one point. The planning board letter says the 2-to-1 slope is too steep. We are going to pull the bog in the reservoir away a little bit, which will allow us to do a 3-to-1 slope. So on number 3, we will provide a 3-to-1 as opposed to the 2-to-1 slope.
Because there are folks like me who don't understand these numbers sometimes. What does a 3-to-1 slope mean? 1 foot down, 3 feet up?
1 foot down, 3 feet over. Right now, we have 1 foot down, 2 feet over. So it will be a 3-to-1 slope. And the slope will be on the bog property. It won't be on a property that's going to be sold to a homeowner in the future. So it'll be a slope on private property. Okay, so going to
If I may.
item number 5.
Excuse me,
Sorry.
so changing the slope, does that change the amount of gravel you're going to be taking out of there?
It will reduce the amount of gravel, not a significant amount, but that wedge between 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 will be gravel that's left there instead of taken out.
It was about 78 vertical feet of,
Well,
is that what it was?
we're going from, I'd say the average is probably about 70. It's 78 at its highest, but then I think it's only 60 at its lowest. So let's say an average of 70 down to 40. So for a 30-foot vertical rise, it's going to be a 90-foot out slope.
Okay.
Okay,
So you're just spreading it out further,
we're taking a hill and just,
right?
Pulling
Same
it
amount
down.
of material coming out of there.
well, there'll be the slope here and the slope here. So that wedge, that material won't be coming out. It's a little bit less.
Okay.
I can't give you a
No.
yard quantity, but
No.
it's slightly less. Number 5, the planning department says it, well, can we show that plan, Joe? Can you hold that up, please? On the southern edge of the proposed bog, we have gone from a 2-to-1 slope to a 12-to-1 slope. The planning department writes in their letter,
That would be- excuse me, sir, the southern edge, is that?
yes, right
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Where are the houses, where are the house lots that are,
This is Fuller Street.
okay?
This is the reconfigured lots so that they're not, they originally, this dotted line was the old, or is the current property line, which we were going to, the original plan had that as going to be part of the easement, which, Mr. Beaton's input on that, he did not prefer to own, especially with being fair.
Tell you what, would you grab that microphone? I think that microphone is working, just so you
I
can.
think if you just do it from there, you'll be fine.
The new plan shows the property line at the top of the slope versus the old plan showing it all the way into the pond, which with, working with Mr. Beaton, that really wasn't desirable for him, having that as an easement. So we removed, there was a retreat lot here, and there was a retreat lot here that we have gotten rid of. So there's 2 less houses with this plan, the way it's currently drawn. And this line now has been taken completely into everything off of those 2 Form A lots.
Okay, now that gray area right behind the 2 lots, above, straight up.
This
above
area?
that, yes, what is the slope in there? Is there a slope there?
This is currently drawn at today's standards, a 2-to-1. With the planning board's input, I'm willing to make that a 3-to-1, leaving more material on site and just shifting over the pond and the bog slightly.
So that thing that looks like an aircraft carrier there, that's actually a
This here?
retention pond?
This is the tailwater recovery pond.
Okay.
The new pump would be located over here to the farm.
Mr. Chair, if I could you show me where the buffer zone is on there?
On the tree buffer zone?
Yes, the 100-foot.
The tree buffer zone is 100 foot from here to here. The house would sit up here.
Is that supposed to be 100 feet from the property edge or the actual house?
Well, there is no property line here. This current line is a proposed. We were trying to give everybody a full picture. From day one, we try to put everything on the table, not only for this board, for the planning board, for natural heritage. Everything had to be put out on the table. And for that reason, we were able to work with Bayside Agricultural. If everybody knows what's on the table, when this project's done, it'll be a feasible project for everybody. With these lot lines really don't exist currently today. So the 100-foot is owned by the same owner. This 100-foot treat area will remain while this earth removal is in progress.
It's the same owner now, but if those houses are sold, it will be with the stipulation like you mentioned.
Correct.
Again, I have to question, is it supposed to be, and I don't know this, from the house or from the property line, for if you sold this from the actual edge of the property?
I don't think the regulation stipulates. I think the intent is to have a 100-foot buffer. And
From
Well, I can read that to you. And
Okay.
we can
See if I can figure it out.
It's going to take me 1 second.
Done.
What's the difference?
This is number 2 in the typical order of conditions, Board of Selectmen conditions. Number 2, existing tree lines, natural land topography, and vegetative buffer zones shall be maintained a minimum of 100 feet from all property lines.
Property line.
So it's not from the house, it's from the property line. Now, we are proposing to put it on the A&R lots, which we own. So we're meeting the intent of the bylaw, which is to provide a 100-foot vegetative treed buffer. Now, in addition to that,
So when you sell that house and someone buys it, where is their property line?
The property line's right here, right on the top of it, on the top of the slope.
And the 100-foot buffer is on their property,
From this to here.
on theirs.
now, that'll be marketed to them, and if they're uncomfortable with that, they don't have to buy the house.
I understand that. I don't even know whether it's permissible, though, if it says from the property line.
We own the property.
Right.
Now, one other point. This
Is
is
that
a hill
making
coming
sense?
up,
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah?
It's going to peak here and then go back down. So these homes, it's not like they're going to be looking out at the trucks and the equipment.
Right, it'll be like a
There's going to be a hill
hill.
going up and a hill going down, and the earth removal operation is going to be at the bottom of the hill on the other side.
Okay, I'm not sure if topography is taken into account for that 100-foot buffer.
It's, I believe it said to leave the natural topography.
Right, okay. But I don't think that influences the 100-foot buffer of trees, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just along the same lines as Selectman Dalby is saying, I'd hate to create a precedent here and just flipping the 100-foot buffer onto the residential property with the resident's permission. I'm not sure if we can do that. I don't know. I see Mr. Mather is chomping at the bit over there. And I appreciate that, but I'm also going to ask for our town council's opinion on that as well.
Mr. Chairman, for your record, my name is Robert Mather. I represent the landowners, and I just became involved in the project a few days ago, which is why you haven't seen me up here before. And this is one of the issues that they asked me to address. If you look in our bylaw, there is no mention at all of a buffer zone in the earth removal bylaw. However, the bylaw does allow the selectmen to impose reasonable conditions, and a buffer zone is something that you have addressed in all previous earth removal permits. But there is nothing, there's nothing in the bylaw. It allows you to have discretion on it. We understand that it would be on the existing lots instead of on the project itself. I have no problems with you asking the town council if he feels that it can be done, because I'm sure that it can. I would be more than willing to draft up a proposed restriction. In addition to the restriction, we're going to put a deed restriction in, so it's not just in the earth removal permit. I would assume that one of the conditions of your permit would be that there would be a deed restriction, but we would present you with a proposed deed restriction, which would, and town council will tell you that no-cut zones are very common on properties when they're sold. They're more common if, for example, I'm selling a lot next to me and I want to make sure that people don't build close to me. I can impose any restriction I want on the other lot. Now, I understand we're not asking you to set precedent, but this is an unusual circumstance. In almost all the permits that you have, the property lines are of abutters, real abutters, and it's an excellent provision that should be addressed every time, but this is different from that. They own this property. There's no one that's going to buy this property that's going to have an issue with it, because they're not going to buy it if they have an issue. In addition to the deed restriction, we're going to make them sign a notice. And we were also going to suggest that we make a condition for that also, that prior to issuing any occupancy permits on the Form A lots, that the town manager would be presented with a copy of a signed restriction stating that the people understand that there is an active project going. They've received copies of it, and they understand that there is a 100-foot no-cut buffer zone during the pendency of the permit, and they accept that. So let's not forget what the purpose of the buffer zone is to protect the innocent homeowners. We're not going to have innocent home. We're going to have knowledgeable homeowners that are going to be aware of this.
Mr. Chair.
Mather?
Go ahead. I think you're going to say what I'm going to say. We all have the same idea. Go ahead.
We have another completely separate and unrelated matter going on in town, where the property owners may or may not have understood what they were being told, and now there's a big hubbub. So just keep that in mind, that we're, again, trying to protect the innocent homeowner. A scenario, and I'm not saying that this is gonna happen, or this is anybody's fault, or anybody's trying to do anything underhanded, but you sell a house, and then that owner sells the house, so now you removed one real estate transaction, and they're under the impression that this permit's gonna be up in 4 years, and they can live with that for 4 years, and they're okay with that restriction. Kind of, because they don't really understand all the big words that the real estate lawyers and the real estate agents are using with them. They just see their dream home and they want to move into it. And then you guys come in here and you ask for a 2 or 3 year permit because the economy turned down again, and you don't have the means to get rid of the fill, which is a scenario that we have heard before this board. So now this homeowner who thought he had 1 year left on this no-touch zone in his 100-foot no-touch zone in his backyard can't build the shed in his backyard because the economy turned, and now nobody has any place to buy this earth that you guys are trying to remove to build this cranberry bog. How are we possibly protected in that situation?
Well,
because they will be standing right where you're standing.
Yeah, I think it imposes a little bit more of a burden on the applicant to finish the project in 4 years, understanding that this board has the ability to deny the permit. It's a brand-new application. It's notice to abutters again. And you have the ability, if the homeowner raises that issue, to deny it. And I would tell that to the applicant, that he better make sure he finishes the project
Mr. Chair?
in the 4 year period.
Can I ask, through you, can I ask Charlie a question? Charlie, do you know of any earth removal project that is finished on time?
No, not my 5 years and plus time here, no.
I'm not sure of this, but I've been told that there have been some projects where not that this has been done, but that the buffer zone has been lessened from 100 feet. Now, I'll have to do some research on that, but I was told that there were at least one permit that had that. But again, I point out the fact that it's not a prerequisite. It's not like a zoning bylaw that you can't get to step 2 if you don't get by step 1. There is no step 1. It's a recommended condition, and it's done to protect the innocent homeowners.
Mr. Mather, as you know from being an attorney, a very eloquent little dissertation about the buffer zone. If everybody in this room was an attorney, every single one of them would have a different opinion as to what that meant. And it all comes back to us. And what we want, what I want, is protection of the future landowners to not come back to us at some point down the road to say they didn't understand. Like Mr. Frawley said, we have this issue happens periodically with different things, and it's totally out of control. So I'm hearing all of these responses to this, but I need planning and our engineer,
But, you know,
Everybody
and maybe
get
the
together
best thing to do is let them finish their response, because we've kind of cut them off in the middle. If they would go through the remaining responses to the planning letter, and then the engineer's letter has some overlap, but then there's some additional issues raised there. If you go through that, then I think we have a better idea of where they're going with this. I mean, I think I see where they're going with it, but why don't you let them respond in full, and then we'll have a better idea.
I can wait.
And
I can do my
suggest
comment
that
at
you
the end.
follow up on, I'm not sure who suggested it, that you run it by town council.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Let's ask town council, can we do this? And I believe, you know, he'll agree that we can do it. And if he wants to suggest any additional way to do it, we'd be more than glad to listen.
Okay. So we're at
I think number 5.
5?
I believe we left off at number 5.
Okay.
So on the southern side, we had a 2-to-1 slope, which is now a 12-to-1 slope. The planning department wrote a letter saying it is unclear what the purpose of this change is, except to remove more earth. She goes on to say a 12-to-1 slope is wholly inappropriate and results in the defoliation and the stripping of additional land. Our engineer, when drawing the plans, should have made a note that the purpose to extend from a 2-to-1 to a 12-to-1 on that side was to allow sunlight to get to the cranberries. You can't grow cranberries without sunlight. And if we had a 2-to-1 slope with very tall trees right at the top, that would impact the sunlight getting to the bog. So that was a change that was made at the direction of the end user, farmer, cranberry grower.
The height remains the same on that hill?
No. The height has been taken back. This was 30-foot hill here, because basically where the bog went through the hill, it was at elevation 74, and that's what caused that steep slope. But the hill is dropping back down, so as we moved out to get the trees down, the grade drops. So it would have been a big pyramid, the same as the pyramid in the front. So by moving it out, it gave a better, there's a multi-purposes to this. The first and most important was the sunlight for the cranberries. But when we went to natural heritage, they didn't like the steep slope for the habitat. So they requested a larger slope to be treed. So this whole area will be under a covenant and retreed. This whole area will be under a covenant and retreed. So there is a construction phase where this wouldn't be a 100-foot buffer zone, but within 5 to 6 years, this is all going to be treed again. Smaller trees, manageable trees, same as here. This farm, working with Natural Heritage and Mr. Beaton, this entire farm is going to have a restrictive covenant on it to remain only a farm. So it's not going to be a cranberry bog that in 10 years from now, cranberries go away and they can come in and fill this in because it's a upland bog and put houses in there. That's not the intent. The intent working with them was to make this a farm. You know, we took a lot of consideration taking this project on. Number one priority when I got involved with this was with Mr. Beaton. Our first meeting, he said he would not sign on unless the neighbors signed on. This 3 acres would be nice, but neighbors are nicer. And I think those were his exact words. We met with the neighbors, we talked with the neighbors, and I believe we have some neighbors here tonight that you can respond to. We gave them a couple scenarios, and the earth removal being the biggest hindrance of this. If the material wasn't there, my part of it, I wouldn't have to be here. Unfortunately, I'm stuck in between the board, the neighbors, landowner, cranberry grower. I think I can do this in a way where it works for everybody, especially in that corridor of farms. I drew a plan. I put a tremendous amount of money into this plan. I took a lot of consideration. I've gone to numerous boards. I have not walked away from one comment. Every comment I've tried to address. I bought retreat lots. Because there is such a volume of material, we can take that volume of material, and we were able to purchase those 2 retreat lots, and they now are part of this farm, which is going to be restricted. And I think that's important for the neighbors to understand that. This is not just an earth removal, it's a farm. It'll be a farm forever because we're going to put a restriction over the whole entire property that if something happened, like you say, landowners change. If Mr. Beaton wasn't part of this and he sold this farm to someone else, some farm owner 2 sales from now can't come in to you and say, I want to fill this in and build houses there, because there's a lot of time and effort that's gone into this, so that wouldn't happen. And yes, there is different areas that are going to be cut, but they're going to be replanted. We're going to replant this. We're going to replant this. I think it wasn't clear about that 100-foot buffer is more of a temporary staging. You know, 5-year pine trees, they go pretty fast, pretty thick. This is going to be trees up in here, driveway here. The bog being where it is because natural heritage wouldn't allow us to put it down here. I've worked with every single organization to come up with the best plan. Put the bog here, doesn't work with the farmer. The biggest concern that Mr. Beaton had was, you know, they do spray their bogs. So the spray, the farther distance between the houses and his bog was better. We agreed, you know, with the way it was laid out. I didn't get involved with this until recently. Once I got involved, these lines now are gone. They're not recorded that way because there's too many variables out there. So we wanted to make sure tonight was an informal meeting with the neighbors, and when they're here, I'm sure we're going to open it up to them also to ask their input on this.
Okay, so that's 5.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, I believe we're up to number 6, and Mr. Aruda touched on it a little bit. We went to Natural Heritage. We had about a 2-hour meeting with them last week or the week before, and this is on top of several discussions we've had in the past. Their requirement is for us to consolidate the project as much as possible. So they wanted all the houses, the pond, the bog, tight to Fuller Street, tight to Thompson Street. They wanted them, let me go over here. They wanted this land area down here. It ties in with habitat that's off-site to the south and habitat that's off-site this way. The planning board thought we should just put the pond over here. The problem with that is it isolates and leave this woods. It isolates a habitat. It cuts this habitat off from this habitat and this habitat. They want it all consolidated so that this habitat stays tied in with this and this. So the way it's drawn now, the houses are all tight to Fuller, the pond, the bog, all tight to Fuller, tight to Thompson, and it leaves a large swath of undisturbed area. And this slope is disturbed, but it goes back to habitat. And Natural Heritage has given us the verbal okay for that. When we revegetate this slope, it's not only going to be in cooperation with the bog owner, but it's going to be in cooperation with Natural Heritage for bushes and trees that will be compatible with box turtle habitat. So the reason for not just moving the pond over, we can't. We have more than the town to satisfy. We have to satisfy the Endangered Species Act, Natural Heritage. We have to consolidate.
Mr. Chairman, just a question. The lower left hand part of that I looked at the aerial of that today, and that looks like it was already disturbed. What's down there?
That is a previous bog that's been abandoned for about 10 years. It was abandoned because it was a poorly producing bog. It's almost completely, I've looked at the aerials too, and it doesn't look that grown back in, but the pines have really taken that area over. I believe there's only a small corner down here that's still kind of sparse.
Yeah, the aerial I saw was from 2008, so it's 6 years old by now.
Yeah, it's pretty dense now. I'd say 80 to 90% of it is very dense with pine.
Thank you. Can you address the engineer's comments too?
I have to be honest, I haven't seen them. I'm not on the CC list, so
Okay.
Will be now.
I haven't seen the comments.
We'll fix that.
I would appreciate that.
You take care of that tomorrow, Charlie. Make sure he
If we
gets-
could get a copy of it, I'm sure we could
We can address it
run
right
through
now
what
if
we
you-
can
if
run
you'd
through,
like.
and if we can't address something, we'll have to get back to you on it.
You have a hard copy of the
Yeah, I
engineers?
don't think I have a hard copy of... Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, very good.
You guys want to take a few minutes and go out and take a look at that?
No, some of it's the same, but then there's some additional new...
I'll try to run through them, and if I can't, we can come back to it on the next meeting. So number one, revised plans show a very gradual 12-to-1 slope on the southeastern side of the bog, as opposed to the 2-to-1. I believe I've already gone over this. That is to allow light to get to the bog. If we maintained a 2-to-1 on that side, and then had a 50-foot tree on top of the 2-to-1, that is going to block the sunlight from getting to the bog. So I think that's number one.
No, the second part of that asks about volumes
Yeah.
in terms of the additional earth removal.
I believe the additional earth removal is in the vicinity of 50,000 yards.
Okay. So,
So
How does that work out to trips per day and all that stuff? Those are important numbers to us, truck trips per day.
yeah, let me have Joe answer that.
It says there'll be more, actually, resulting in additional earth
Well,
removal here.
That is actually one of the most important questions that I have to answer tonight. We wanted to start with the list that was proposed to us. But more importantly, this is probably the most important question that I need to be answered. And I believe some of the neighbors are here tonight. It was pretty clear to me at the last meeting how important the truck aspect of. With everything that I've tried to make on this bog make work, this is probably the hardest part for me. I never, at that meeting, addressed it, which I should have. I should have stood up. When my engineer said we're asking for a 3-year permit with possibly a 1-year extension, it was pretty clear that that was referred back to him the 3 years. I am in no position or would be in no way able to make that promise and be able to keep my neighbors happy. I've been hauling on that road for 20 years, not only from the town of Middleborough earth removals, but from earth removals in Carver. That is our main truck route. It has always been our main truck route. That is, we leave Bridgewater and we come straight through that truck route for the last 20 years. After leaving the meeting that night, I was approached by a few neighbors. Some of them, I believe, are here tonight. They thought that it was inappropriate for me to try to remove that kind of material in that kind of time restraint. So I asked them at that point, what is more important? This project is important to me in numerous ways, but most importantly, we have a great reputation in town. We've always had a great reputation, and we want to keep that. This one project will not make or break anyone in this. It is a great project, great for the area, great for the neighbors. I believe one of the neighbors will speak tonight. Obviously, the ones that came, they're all been informed. The ones that came tonight, I think, are here in support of me and what I'm trying to accomplish there. 3 years is unrealistic for me to move that kind of material without someone being upset. We do roughly 150 to 200,000 yards a year is our average for the last 20 years. And at that rate, we're comfortable. We're comfortable with saying to you that we're not reinventing a truck hazard. It's the same exact, the only difference is turning onto that street. The trucks haul that same average every year for the last 20 years on Route 105. And if that is a major sticking point, it's something I need to have addressed, whether the board wants to address it tonight or think about it. But I've said to the neighbors, there's one thing that I will not do is lie to anybody. I will not lie to this board, I will not lie to the neighbors saying I can do something I can't do. And I'm telling you with all honesty, I don't think that taking that volume, I have an option, which I mentioned the option at the last meeting, of splitting the trucks, trying to move some of the material, come out of Fuller Street and take a left, come out of Fuller Street, take a right, to alleviate some of that. But even at that, to make a promise to you, I would be uncomfortable to make that promise. It has been a known fact. I don't think that anyone intentionally lies about these earth removals. I think that the intention is to try to balance, do they want 3 years of a nuisance, or do they want 3 years of peace? And I think even after this permit's done, my trucks are still gonna run that same road at that same volume. It may be to Carver or Wareham. So what I'm trying to do is to please a lot of people, especially this board, because I know you have to answer to the neighbors. So with your permission, if one of the neighbors, or if the neighbors are opposed to it, I would ask tonight, before I go much farther on this, I put a lot of time and a lot of money into this project, and if they are opposed to it and they're going to call you on a regular basis, I would ask that be brought up tonight, so that we can address it and ask the board, what direction they would like to go with that.
Let me ask you one question.
Yep.
Because we've talked about hundreds of thousands of yards, and
Yeah.
that's nice. How many trucks a day? How many trips? How many times am I going to see a truck going in and out of the Fuller Street area?
The current bylaw or restriction is 51 loads a day, which is 100 trips.
100 trips.
Which, when we started adding up, the time, and I was trying to take in everything. When you say 100 trips past my house, it sounds like a tremendous amount, but when you time at 30 miles an hour, it's a few seconds that we would pass the person's house, which we currently do today. So we have been asked to move forward by the neighbors that approached me. There may be a neighbor out there that is against this, against trucks, but no one has approached me on that. And I can only go what's in front of me, and I can only say that the 51 loads is something, I don't know if that's for every earth removal, but I know that we had it on one of our earth removals, and it's a livable, it's peace to the neighbors. We've never had an issue till we went over that on one of the projects. Now granted, we're only going to do half that because we're going to try to split evenly. But if we don't, we have to abide by that 51.
So when you're talking about splitting it evenly, you're saying some are going to hit Thompson Street, they're going to turn right?
Right, and some
are
would
going to
hit
head off to your facility?
Yes.
Or some are going to turn
Turn
left and maybe go
to
get out
44.
to 44 and
Yes.
to wherever?
Yep. I mean, that would be our ultimate. is to be able to split 50/50, but more may go towards Bridgewater, or more may go towards 44.
It all depends on
Where the particular
functionality.
yeah,
I
of the
understand.
material. And the biggest thing is, we know that in the past, that you guys are always stuck in the middle between myself and the people. And we're here tonight to put it out there. I think everybody has an input on this project, and I think I've tried to accommodate all those. But I think my last hurdle, which is the biggest hurdle for me, is the neighborhood. And if we could get them to...
Realistically, you're saying that the 3 year isn't, it's going to go beyond 3 years.
I think that. I absolutely do. I think...
I mean, you move the earth from...
Yeah. It's not my first earth removal.
No, it's not your first rodeo. You've been
no,
around before.
And I think that we tried... I think if I was out there for 20 more years and you had no complaints, that it would be an easy... I come in through the past earth removals I've had with you. I've come in, meeting, we've had some neighbors' input through the years, but I address that. I actively address any problems. I try to...
You're very cooperative. I've never had any problems.
And that's
with
what I
it.
want to remain. And if we have a neighbor that's just absolutely upset about this, then I would rather hear from it tonight in this meeting and address it. And if we can't address it, then we'd have at least an option. So you want me to stand down and allow that?
Just a clarification then, so originally your estimate was about 750 cubic yards, and this plan now adds how much to it?
50,000.
All right, so now you're up to 800?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So...
That's 800,000 cubic yards.
Right.
Yes, and I mean, some of it is, on the other side, it's a small amount, but I mean, it's not a small enough, it's a small amount that we're leaving behind that I wouldn't want to say something that's false, but those are the numbers that we're working with.
Honest assessment, how many years is this gonna go on?
I honestly believe with everything that we see in front of us, it's probably a 5-year permit. And that, we've had almost a month of weather we couldn't even work in.
Sure.
Hot summer days, you know, we try to take in consideration on everything. And we've done this long enough to know that there are some days that we don't haul out of there, out of any of our pits. You know, the trucks are, you know, doing other things, or it's one of those real dry weeks, and it's easier for us to wet it down and let it sit than to try to disturb it and cause a problem. So if we try to take in consideration the board, the aspects of the complaints, more than we would like to remove earth for 40 more years. Unfortunately, with what it's a 3-year window with a 1-year extension, and I'm not saying that's a granted, but for me, I don't want to start this project and come in front of you and you say, I thought you were going to do it in 3 years, or I thought you were going to do it in 4 years. I'm here tonight to say if it's a huge problem, if that's the break point of after all I've done for this, then I'd rather know it tonight and respectfully make a decision on that.
All right, so shall we finish with the list? Just so
Yeah.
we hear everything?
Yep. Now, we have our engineers review.
I've had a few minutes to look at this, and it appears that many of these items are repeat items. I believe we've covered one. Number 2, I am not familiar with the Janet Ellis property, and we'll have to have our engineer look at that. That should be very easy to look at an aerial and pull a distance. I just don't have the ability to do that tonight. Number 3, I believe we've talked about, the revised lots on Fuller Street, the grading and the land clearing does not encroach on the new lots. We've talked about the 100-foot treed buffer zone. I don't remember ever seeing anything about fencing. I do recall 2-to-1 being a safety issue, and we've proposed to do 3-to-1. Number 4 speaks about relocating the reservoir to the other side of the proposed bog, and I've relayed to you our meetings with Natural Heritage and our inability to do that because it fragments the turtle habitat, and we are under direction to consolidate the turtle habitat and leave it where the turtles can migrate to the other habitat that's off of our property, to the south and the east. Number 5, the applicant has indicated that the depth of the reservoir will be reduced if rock is encountered. We suggest that this be made part of any conditions of approval.
That is, that one I have still to address. I mean, obviously, the cut on the property is, we did from soil maps and soil loggings, we believe we would not encounter that. We are going to, because you can't dig with an excavator down 75 feet, to find that, after that has been brought to my attention, I'm going to go out there and do borings to, if that's another stickler point for the board. I'm trying to abide by all the rules that are being brought to me. If we're hitting ledge, I will not drill and blast. That I can promise you. So if we hit ledge out there with the soil borings, I would have to respectfully come back and tell you that the project is non-doable by those standards. I don't believe that the bylaw allows you to drill and blast, and nor would I want to try to drill and blast in that area. So that concern is a concern of mine also, which I will address in the next few days by having a small drilling machine come out and drill to make sure that that's not an issue. I'm just trying to get through as many of the lists as possible, but that option is definitely something that I can tell the board right now I would not be out there drilling and blasting.
There is ledge over on the Plimpton Street side.
Yes.
But
yep.
You never know.
I mean, we know in the past with the earth removal, if you hit a big rock, people are willing to allow you to jackhammer it out. It's, you know, if it's a few rocks. But if I get out there and it's continuous ledge, it's not feasible. We're hoping by all the soil logs that that's not an issue.
I think you're loyal at the first hearing. I think it was this one. I asked him if he was going to blast. He said there was going to be no blasting.
Absolutely. Yep. No, I'm on that same page.
Number 6 speaks to private non-bedrock wells in the area, should be identified for future reference. That's fine, we'll identify the wells in the immediate vicinity. Number 7, natural heritage approval is still outstanding. That is true. I indicated a little while ago, we have had numerous conversations and then a 2-hour face-to-face meeting with Natural Heritage in the last week or two. An exact quote from that meeting was, "This is a very permittable project." We're still working out the details for the final permit, but a very permittable project is what we were told. So we have every expectation that we will receive a natural heritage permit. That's all 7.
All right.
Do you want to just take some public comment? I think they're going to have to put all this in writing.
Yeah,
everything
this
that
all has to.
Yeah, we need a,
They got to
full
get together
response.
with planning
Yeah.
and
so we can
iron
circulate
all
it
this
again.
out. We've got to get town council's
Right.
determination on this buffer zone. But we do have some neighbors, I believe, in the area that wish to speak. Come right up to the microphone, identify yourself.
Good evening. Ann Williams, 76 Plimpton Street.
Good evening.
I'm in a butter. Last week, we spoke about sprinkling using a truck. And as I thought about it over the week, I realized Perhaps I misspoke. Cranberry growers must be experts on sprinklers. And as some of them will be exiting in between bogs where they have sprinklers, perhaps it's enough for us to say that they must sprinkle and let them decide how to go about it. The fewer restrictions on business, the better. As long as they sprinkle, it hurts no one in the town how they do it. Let them make profit any way they can. And number two, Mr. Farley, I was extremely mortified the way you spoke to Mr. Mather, and you assumed he was not honest and fair, which he is.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Mr. Mather and I have a very good relationship. I never once did I imply that he was anything but an upstanding and respectable person. I did not in any way, if you mistook my statements, I apologize. But Mr. Mather and I have a very good relationship. I did not speak down to him. I did not mean any type of ill will or anything like that towards him at all.
Underhanded.
Excuse me?
I believe you lumped him in with underhanded
In
developers.
no way, shape, or form. I have the utmost respect for Mr. Mather. I enjoy watching him speak to other boards. In no way, shape, or form have I ever implied that he was anything but an upstanding citizen. Never once. If you misunderstood me, that's what it was. You misunderstood my statement. But I never made any implication like that as far as Mr. Mather, his career, or his character. I have the utmost respect for him.
I did not take any offense.
Thank you.
I didn't know there was any issue at all, to be honest with you.
As far as I'm concerned, there is no issue.
Okay, if it doesn't bother you, Bob, it's fine with me.
Thank you.
Steve Bonfiglioli, 237 Thompson Street. I'm a neighbor nobody knows about, I guess. This is about the roads. The problem I see is currently the road pavement is in rough shape on Thompson Street, Fuller Street, and Plimpton Street. Having to move 700,000 cubic yards of gravel will require approximately 35,000 truckloads. Each truckload would weigh about 60 to 80,000 pounds, and the returning truck would be empty. This process would deteriorate the roads even further. The thought I had that the developer could possibly contribute 15 cents per cubic yard of removed gravel, amounting to about $2.50 to $3 a truckload. This revenue could be put into a separate fund to be managed by the TBW for the maintenance and repairs of the affected roads. At present, if you're driving from 44 towards Halifax on 105, the right-hand side of the road is really deteriorated, potholes, and so normally when I drive down the road, I drive in the middle of the road. I kind of line up on the yellow double line and drive down the middle of the road because the right-hand side is too bad. This would probably, cost them, if it was a 3-year period, it would probably cost them about $30,000 a year. This would give the town some money to not maintain it, but just keep it livable. In talking with Andy Baggus before he left, he said it's probably going to be 5 years before they do anything with Thompson Street, so it's probably going to take Mr. Ruda 5 years to move the gravel. They're probably not going to do anything at Thompson Street, so nothing has been done to Thompson Street probably in 5 years. They oiled it about 5 or 6 years ago, so it's just really it's really getting bad. So I'm not against him moving gravel. He's been going back and forth in front of my house for 10 years, and it hasn't bothered me at all. But the street really needs some repairs, and Fuller Street is really in bad shape. It looks like they had a hand grenade party out there that has so many holes in it. So it's something that the selectmen could look into. I understand that Lakeville may have this bylaw that they pay this 15 cents a yard to help the town maintain the roads. I wrote it down like.
Thank you. Presently, we will be shortly doing a survey of all of our roads to determine the conditions and which are in better, worse, most deplorable, and start a plan to looking to rebuilding the roads. It's always been a concern when we have heavy truck traffic, but conversely, that's a business that's in operation, and, you know, we really can't stop a business from operating. I don't want to stop a business from operating. It's putting people to work. So it's a catch-22. Certainly this is something we'll look at. But again, our road condition overall in the town has to be totally assessed. And that's a separate issue from this. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Gimnoni. I live on Rocky Meadow Street, and Mr. Aruda has been hauling for years in that area, Tispokun Street, in that area. And on a couple of occasions, I've had to call him and had some choice words. I had some choice words of things that had occurred. And I gotta say, he's been most gentlemanly to me, even when I was angry at him. And he calmed me down, and he actually made some changes to some of the truck situations that were going on there. So I have to say, from personal experience with Mr. Aruda, it's been gentlemanly, so I can't see him changing anything from that. But I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Sam Shields. I live at 291 Thompson Street. I operate the dairy farm at 121 Thompson Street. I represent my family on the corner of Fuller Street on the opposite side from this project at 274 Thompson Street, Mrs. Gwendolyn Blanchard.
Good evening.
Good evening. Joe's trucks are going to run up and down Thompson Street, it doesn't matter what town they come from. He's been running up and down this road for a long time. I can tell you this much. They are the best people to work with. If there's been a problem, you call the office, you find Joe, it gets solved. Truck drivers slow down. I've had issues. His drivers have called me, said, you know you got a cow on the road? Okay, there's a great working relationship between BRS and the neighbors. There's another piece that I want, and I really want the board to ask the landowner this question. If we don't see an earth removal permit, ultimately with a bog being built in an area that already has bog existing, not just there, but also on Thompson Street. We also have numerous active farming operations on Thompson Street and in this area, and on Plymouth Street. What's the alternative use for that property? The rumor is 40B. Do we need a cluster of houses sitting on the corner of Fuller Street in a rural residential zoning area? I personally don't want that to have happen. That land will be restricted. It'll get taxed at 61A level. We know the 61A taxes, when those taxes go into the town, the services that are pulled out from those tax dollars are usually less than the contribution that was made to the town. When you build a single-family dwelling, they always cost the town more money. So there are some bigger issues here than just slopes, truck traffic, short-term inconvenience of having trucks that are going to go by Thompson Street anyways. They're going to come, whether it comes from here or it comes from somewhere else. So I think one of the things that we need to hear is what's the alternative? What's the alternative use? Because that property is going to change. Mr. Baptiste is not going to sit on this piece of property and watch the trees grow. The other thing is that one of the mentions that had been made in the past is about why would Mr. Beaton want to operate a cranberry bog? I'm a dairy farmer. And I can tell you, in 2009, I lost my shirt. Commodity farming is way different than most people in this community have any idea what goes on. What I'm trying to tell you is that commodities go down and commodities come back up. And it happens through marketing. Marketing by companies like Ocean Spray. We do it through international marketing. All of these free trade agreements, all of the international trade agreements, they eventually get very local, and they affect people like me. With butter, powder, and cheese going to China, being produced by the Cabot Cooperative, Ocean Spray products will wind up in other countries. That is the ultimate savior. So if people say, well, creamers are valueless, they are maybe have hit a low in the market today, but in the near future, trust me, that will not be the case. There's way too much infrastructure in that industry to just say goodbye, because that will not happen. The truck levels that have happened on that street at different times, when we had Oak Point being built, and hauling by this company, and normal traffic with all the other companies that go by, that did get pretty crazy for a while. But it has toned down, so if we're looking at this, even with the other existing gravel operation that is directly across Fuller Street and on the other side, it's a doable situation. Should we have some other operation get opened up or some other major project, then it becomes a problem. But as it exists today, I think that the truckload that Joe would put on this street is doable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Hello, how you doing?
Good evening.
Nick Topman. I just recently purchased the property at which is now 3 Fuller Street. It was part of this project. I purchased it from Mr. Baptiste. I've also grew up in the neighborhood. I grew up down the road on Thompson Street. And what Mr. Arruda said is true. His trucks have been going up and down that road for 20 years. Only thing in my eyes that's going to change, they're going to take a left onto Fuller Street, go up maybe half a mile or so, pick up some dirt, and go back down Thompson Street. That's one thing that hasn't changed, is his trucks on Thompson Street over the past 20 years. So. Now, another thing I'd like to add is you really look at the timeline that you're putting on here. I think 3 years, as Mr. Arruda said, is just undoable. If he were to have to do that, this sizable project in 3 years, I think then he would put the community at risk. Danger. I'd hate to see an accident happen with a cow on the road or who knows what. But that said, I'd like you to take what Mr. Arruda said into consideration, allowing him to extend the amount of time he has to complete this project. With being in a butter, I would greatly like to see a cranberry bog out there, and I really like the design that they have with allowing the habitat to come back into the area once the project is done. Also, as Sam mentioned, what's the alternative here? I would much rather put up with a little bit of truck traffic for a few years than to see realistically 10, 15, 20 houses be out there with 2 cars or so each for the next forever. I think everybody overlooks the amount of traffic that regular household can contribute to an area as well. So I think the cranberry bog is the better alternative here.
So you have the option, you would opt for, say, up to 5 years of truck traffic Monday through Friday, and it would only be Monday through Friday. Mr. Arruda runs a good operation. He doesn't show up before 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:30, whatever the time frames we put on there. We've never had that problem with Mr. Arruda, that's for certain. Very rarely do we have any problems with Mr. Arruda. But it would be, but you are sitting there. I sit here Monday night, and then I go to my little piece of paradise, and I don't see Mr. Arruda's trucks. So you will see his trucks.
I will.
Every day. And your significant other's going to come up to you and say, is this thing ever going to end? And you're going to have to say, well, I thought it was a great idea to go for 5 years.
Well,
I mean, if you're all right with that,
I'm also
who
realistic.
am I to argue? Because you got to live with your significant other. I don't.
Oh, it's fine with me. I'll deal with her. I'm also realistic, and I know that my family is also in the excavating business, and I know that a project of this caliber can't be done in 3 years. So I don't want you to put unrealistic expectations on him. And then come back here in 3 years and say, oh, I thought you said it was going to be done, when you just kind of knew from the get-go that it wasn't.
I prefer to have him say it's a 5-year project.
Yes.
Because
I think it would be
then, because, you know, in a couple of years, maybe I'm not on the board anymore. And some other group of individuals are sitting up here pulling their few hairs out.
Yep.
Well,
I may not
everybody
be
knows
wrong.
it's a
You never know
5-year
what's gonna
project,
happen,
and it's livable, you know, it's doable.
Yep.
You know, I don't have a problem with that. And your voice means more, because you're right there. You are on the front lines.
As of right now, his truck's going on Fuller Street. I'm the only one whose property is affected by his trucks on Fuller
Right.
Street, as of right now.
So I'm glad to hear from you.
Okay.
And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Concerns? Mr. Mather?
I'd like to just address real quickly. I've known Ann Williams for 30 years. I appreciate her trying to defend my honor, but it was absolutely not necessary. Mr. Frawley's comments and Ms. Dalpe's comments were dead on the issue of the buffer zone and something that we need to address. And I certainly took no offense whatsoever on what he said. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think there's some questions, some resolutions that have to be put together between planning, the engineer, you all. So, we're not meeting next week.
No.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
To be able to get all this resolved, all the questions answered. I don't like getting stuff Friday afternoon.
No, neither do I.
When I get responses on Friday afternoon, it's difficult because I'm not certain you've seen all of it. And when you haven't seen it, it makes it tough. Well, first of all, you're the guys that have to make the answers. And it's not fair to you. So, can we put this off? 24th? Doesn't look like we have anything else, so.
Well, we have the hearing on the comprehensive wastewater management plan, and
So what did you say,
8:15?
8:15?
Yeah. 24th, 8:15.
That fit with you guys? I'd entertain a motion to
Continue the hearing?
continue this hearing to February 24th at 8:15.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Anybody have any comments or questions before we?
I would just ask that if you guys get anything from NEHSP, that you forward any of those documents onto our planning board, because it seems like they had a big issue with going from the 2-to-1 slope to the 12-to-1. And if you have a good reason from the natural, endangered, and heritage species, whatever that is, that backs up your argument, then if you can give that to the planning board, then everybody's all on the same page.
The reason was the light for the cranberry bog. Natural heritage was okay with the reason.
I thought part of the reason was
They
making
did like-
contiguous habitat for the.
Yes, keep not,
That's important.
that's in relation to not moving the pond to the other side.
But yeah, if you can, any documentation you have supporting the reasons behind your proposal.
The layout.
You can get that to the planning board. I think that helps everybody.
What I will try to do is have our endangered species specialist draft a summary of the meeting we had and try to get a confirmation from Natural Heritage.
Yeah, and I'm just
Yep.
so everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely.
Because it makes perfect, like when I read the planning board's comments, they made perfect sense. And then when I heard your comments, they made perfect sense. But if we can get them all on the same page, it's just like, this meeting goes a lot easier.
Yeah, I'll have our biologist draft a letter summarizing the meeting and try to get a confirmation from Natural Heritage that that's what took place.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Also, quick comment. I just want to, we are cranberry country. I want to see this project succeed. I really do. I think the alternatives that have been pointed out would not be the best use for this land. Our job is to just make sure that the community and the residents are comfortable with this and can live with the integration of the project. So thank you for working with us. Get the revisions to the planning board, to the engineers, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Chairman, this next hearing, we're going to continue as well. That was not ready to go forward either.
Okay, when are we continuing that to?
Again, the 24th at 8:30.
8:30?
Well, do you think we can get this one done in 15 minutes? Hopefully it gets worked out by then.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion to continue the WRPD hearing.
Did we open the hearing, Mr. Chairman?
We have to open
Do
it,
you
then
just
close.
open this WRPD hearing?
This one, for Cumberland?
Yeah, we should open it and then continue.
I'm going to open the hearing for Cumberland. I'm going to open the hearing for, Brian, can you go out and tell them to quiet down, please? Do something useful. Hannah speaks. I'd like to open the hearing, the WRPD continuation hearing for Cumberland Farms. This was continued from 2/3/2014. Hearing's open. Now I'd like to postpone the hearing.
Motion to continue.
Motion to continue to...
Second.
February 24th, 8:30.
You anxious?
Yeah, just a little.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Guys are awful slow. Okay, now, next item on the agenda is for 1 South Main Street lease proposal presentation by Arthur Bastoni for Bastoni's Bakery. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Battistini of 6 Freeland Street, and I'd like to open a bakery in Middleborough. When I learned about the space downtown, I thought it would be a perfect location for a retail bakery. I've also been looking at some options for what the Cultural Council brought up, doing some events at night in that location as well. I think would be a great opportunity for the town, and also working with the Agricultural Committee on local produce that will be able to use in the bakery.
Are you going to be baking in this facility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it would include the renovation of the space. So it would be suitable.
All right. Discussions? Board members?
I have a question or two. You mentioned in your proposal about the conference room there?
Yes.
And you would be conducting classes in there? Would they
Yes.
be hands-on classes?
They would.
Okay, so you would be significantly altering that room, changing, adding, what would you be doing?
Mainly taking out the carpet, putting in a hand washing sink and stations for cooking. It wouldn't involve plumbing to every station. It would be tabletop, heating elements, and then the cutting utensils, whatever they need for that.
Okay.
And I've also had many conversations with the health department and the building commissioner as well.
Right.
on buying.
There'll be significant changes. What other plans do you have?
There aren't any plans drawn up yet. I wanted to make sure that it was possible to move forward with this. So right now we're basically looking at taking out the partitions. I think the town wanted to use them for something else, at least store them somewhere else. And then we'd remove the teller counter and build a kitchen in that spot where the gas and water lines are right below it. And then for the conference room would be used for the cooking classes. And the existing bathrooms would be used for the public.
Okay.
Charlie, is there any kind of a lease arrangement been put together?
Well, the proposal was for $1,200 a month rent, a 10-year lease. Now, is that net of utilities, or who would pay the utilities in your proposal, Arthur?
That would be me.
You would pay the, right.
Yeah.
So in addition to the rent, he'd pay the utilities.
Yeah.
And that's a locked-in price for 10 years?
Yes.
Is that a...
That's a proposal, remember, so this is something that we can still negotiate around, but, you know, his response is the $1,200 for 10 years, $1,200 a month.
Is a 10-year proposal like that a kind of standard?
We had a 5 and a 5 with the bank. We basically had a 5 with a 5-year renewal, I believe. Again, it's a proposal. You know, we could structure it differently. I don't know what, you know, Arthur's requirements are in terms of his financing and whether he needs a 10-year lease to, you know, satisfy his financiers, or
The lease isn't dependent on, my financing isn't dependent on the lease term.
What was the bank paying?
The bank was paying a lot more. The bank was paying, I think, around $3,000 a month. But I think the reason the bank left was that probably the rent got a little out of hand.
I think at one point, I can't remember who or when this came up, but generally we wanted the rent for that space to cover the expenses of running the building.
Yeah, and I think that, is
Ambitious on our end?
ambitious on our part in this market. The bank was doing that, but I think, rents in downtown Middleborough, I think, are not that high.
Would like to have something in there in a drawer of a good bakery, like I need that, but.
No, I really don't have anything personally against the bakery.
Waistline probably take a beating, but.
I think the prevailing rate is $8 or $10 a square foot. Would put this at around 2,000. So 1,200 is still a little low to lock in, I feel, personally, for 10 years. It's just a proposal. It's a first step. I understand that. I'd like to see a little more detail of the plans of what you want to do to the space.
Sure.
You can tell me, but I have concerns that room's been restored significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't want that to be compromised, the paneling and everything. It's an historic building, so.
Right. As far as the walls go in that room, that's kind of been on a back burner as far as the development plans for that space. Immediate would be the front space that would be doing the renovations for. That space in the conference room maybe later on, maybe in the fall, where that would actually come into play. So I can get into the swing of things of running the front and then starting the classes later on in the year.
Now, do you have a business plan put together with your financing and your feasibility?
I do have a startup for that. I have some feasibility paperwork with the bank to start looking at that.
I appreciate your enthusiasm and wanting to get involved in the community. I'm rah-rah for that. If you've been watching anything, that's me. But again, we want to make sure that we're all successful in something like this. So the more information you could get us would make us, it would be easier for us to look at.
Yep, I have numbers on a spreadsheet too, if you want to see that as well.
So where do you want to go with this?
Why don't you take it under advisement and, let's talk with Arthur some more and, let him provide some additional information and,
Okay,
I think the 24th is probably now a little
Full.
booked, so probably the meeting after that before we can get to it.
Okay. Pleasure of the board?
Take it under
Continue this
advisement.
discussion, take it under advisement and continue this discussion?
I would like to. Do we have a date in mind? We got budgets coming up too.
Right.
Yeah, I think I think March 3rd is okay. I think I'm gonna wait until we get the healthcare number before I give you the budget, so I think that would free up March 3rd.
March 3rd? Okay.
And we can get that information, as the chairman had stated, not the Friday before if possible. Thank you.
Yeah, we're more into, get it to us in advance so we can digest it, and get proper questions back to you. I hate getting stuff on Friday afternoon. It just makes it too difficult.
If you wanted to send us samples on a Friday afternoon, that would work.
I'll see what I can do.
Sweeten the pot a little,
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Three-tier wedding cake,
Yeah.
send it to the office. And I also have the new tax compliance certification with the federal identification tax number that I didn't have before.
Why don't you give that to Chuck?
Thank you.
Okay.
Just
Any
one
other
more quick
questions?
question. So what is your background? Have you done this before as well? Or, yeah, I know
I've
you're
never opened a
teaching,
bakery
right?
before.
But you're teaching.
I graduated from Middleborough High. After that, I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. So my associate's degree is in baking and pastry. My bachelor's is in restaurant management. My master's is in education. So I've been working as a high school teacher at Middleborough High for the past 3 years. I've been running the foods program, family development, and chemistry there. And now I kind of want to follow my dream and open a bakery.
Congratulations on CIAA. Excellent school. I took my nephew there. I know.
I loved it.
Yes, very nice. Creme de la creme.
Good cooks?
Oh, yeah. It's a phenomenal place. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we'll take this all under advisement. You're going to get some more information for us.
Definitely.
We'll roll from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Mr. Chairman, I think tonight I gave you an updated forecast. We had a forecast meeting early in February. Not a lot has changed. This was basically an update of using the governor's projected budget and local aid numbers. And basically the changes were in Chapter 70. Not a lot, $25 per pupil. Roughly $85,000 increase in Chapter 70, some other minor adjustments. So, you know, that was the one change on the revenue side. Made a small change under the appropriations, other articles to reflect the actual debt service for our septic betterment program. That's a pass-through, it doesn't affect the bottom line. On the detail on page 2, passed on the Chapter 70 funds to the school department, which has been our practice. And then under debt service, updating the debt service numbers to reflect you know, what we'll be doing this year with you know, paying down some principal and continuing our short-term borrowing for our capital projects. And absorbing some of the costs for the design of the police station, which we absorbed within the existing debt budget. So those were the main changes. You know, as I said to the Finance Committee earlier tonight, it's all about healthcare. You know, we're still projecting a 10% increase, although the whole rationale for moving to the GIC is that we see a lower rate of increase, and hopefully that's what we'll see, and we'll know that on March 4th. And, you know, then I think that'll tell us, you know, if we have a deficit of any significance or not. So that is...
Questions of the town manager?
How's the target for the retirement benefits?
Still okay. Still okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Correspondence? Mr. Quill?
Number 4, Plymouth County Commissioners have submitted their 2007, 2008, 2009 audits.
Good.
I think that's a glaring representation of better late than never, maybe. But it is what it is, at least they're coming in. So that's a step in the right direction from where they were. I think you'll agree, you sat on this.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's much better.
Yeah, I mean,
it sounds terrible, but it's much better.
It sounds terrible, but they made a commitment to meet this, and at least it's there. As I said, yes, it's pitiful, but it's...
Well, it's a new commission, too. It's not like these same guys have been sitting on it since 2007. That last batch was sitting on it, not doing anything.
Not doing anything. I mean, these guys, it's nice to see commissioners that are actually making their you know, meeting what they committed to.
Talk about digging out of a hole.
Yeah. The number 12, but you know, that was an interesting read. You know, I kind of know what that's like a little bit. You know, I'm on a downslope, and it certainly does when the topography and you don't, and you live on a downslope, you do get a lot of surface water, and it can impact your basement. I've had I had a wet basement. I had to get the you know, Pioneer basements in there to work with it before I could finish it. So I kind of feel the pain of what these people are going through. But it just seems like this was something that was back in 1980. I think they're, you know, these individuals are corresponding with us because, you know, we approved this like we would any other, but I don't know exactly what we can do for them. I certainly would like the town to
send it to planning.
To planning, and it does seem like she's looking at it, but it just seems like it's, as she said, it seems like something that would have to be worked out.
Actually, Gene Spaulding's taking the lead on this because it has a septic and, you know, well implications. So hopefully we can do something to help the residents here.
Well, thank you to the department heads that are looking at this and giving it their due diligence. Other than that, I looked over at the inspection report on the bridge. Nothing that was earth-shattering, but it definitely looks as if, with some of their comments, this bridge is starting to move into a direction of disarray. You know,
Brand new, though.
What's that?
Brand new.
That's
I
brand
know.
new.
I know, but they do
2
make
years old.
comments about some, corrosion, and I don't know what else they'd want us to do. Overall, it passes, so. Think you can find me any bridge that looks great underneath, to tell you the truth. I've never seen one in my life.
Better than the Plymouth Street Bridge.
Yeah.
If you went under the old bridge, you'd say that this one looks pretty good.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Mr. Knowlton?
Number one, note about CVS and no longer doing tobacco products. I like that. I'll hold my breath and see what the market has to say about that. Whether they'll be able to sustain that or not. That should be interesting to see, but good for our community, I think. Also, number 12, the Holly Tree Lane flooding issue. Again, it just underscores, the importance of, making sure that everything is up to code and everything, when we approve projects, that the gradings and the runoff, has to be taken into account. I'm glad that it's being looked at. And I'll also mention I was going to mention it. What was it? It'll come back to me.
Well, we'll be here for a while.
Yeah, so it'll come back to me. Thanks.
I'm good. I know.
Mr. Brown?
I'll address number one real quick. It's nice to know that we were just in front of that. I think CVS came up, they never had any issue with us asking them to take tobacco products out of their stores beforehand.
None of them did?
So, number 12, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what we can do, but that reiterates the importance of taking a good look at any permits that we allow to go forward as we sit here. And number 9, I've been under that bridge a couple times. I think it still looks pretty good. There are cracks, it's concrete, it's cold, it's New England. When we salt the road and then you drive over a concrete bridge, stuff's gonna happen.
It's in better shape than some bridges.
A lot better shape.
There you go.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
With regards to item 1, that CVS Caremark removing all tobacco products by October 1st of this year by their own choice, and I gave a shout out to Middleborough Youth Advocates, who really came forward, got ridden pretty hard too, but those young adults, those students at Middleborough and other schools, they pushed that, and I gotta say, they were in front of this, and when I read the article, they really recognized that many communities in Massachusetts have already done this. And they said San Francisco and then more than several communities in Massachusetts have done this, and they recognized that it made sense, especially when they started tying in with some of these health providers with their minute clinics. They were told, how can you sell tobacco products when you're in there trying to sell health? It was the exact argument that was made at this room, and I give those young adults a lot of credit for Middleborough Youth Advocates, and I gave them credit the other night as well at the school committee meeting. I thought they were wonderful. Thank you.
The Plymouth County Commissioner's report, they had been fighting that fight to get the audits done for years. They will get up to date. It'll take them some time because they had some issues to deal with in previous audits, and it took a lot of time to get it squared away. Once they got the initial problem areas cleaned up, now they can move forward. But they had to have that baseline squared away, and that took some time doing. And they were very aggressive. The commissioners have been very aggressive the past couple of years in making sure that this happened, and I'm glad to see them moving forward with that. I would like to thank Verizon for raising their rates again. I appreciate that. I anticipate will probably be next month, we'll see Comcast will be raising their rates on something and changing something, but I appreciate the fact that they're out there helping take care of our money for us. Okay, nobody else has anything on correspondence? Charlie has asked, and we'll probably get jammed up on this, but we have to go into an executive session meeting tonight, a very quick one, just to discuss labor negotiations.
Collective bargaining with all units.
Collective bargaining with the unions. The opinion of the chair, this would be detrimental to our ability to negotiate. We will not be returning to open session. Thank you all very much. Poll vote, Mr. Knowlton?
Aye.
Mr. Quell?
Yes.
Aye.
Mr. Frawley and Mr. Chair votes yes. We're all going to executive session. Thank you all very much. Meeting's adjourned.